Today I'm going to work on a little project, because I'm trying to do something to keep my mind occupied with this whole COVID-19 coronavirus out there. Everything's closed. There's nothing going on, right? Very few people around. I figured today would be a day I'll just chill out and work on a little fun project. Here it is. You guys might remember a while back when I showed this off. This, of course, being the smallest black and white picture tube ever commercially made. That's a tiny rectangular tube CRT that was used in some of the Sony Handycams just before they went to the LCD type. There was also a round tube that was made on camcorders that were a little bit older than this one. I have one of those as well, and just so you can see the difference between the size of the two of them, the roundy is actually quite a bit bigger. If we put them together, you can see how much bigger this round tube is in terms of length, right to the end of the socket. This is a much bigger tube. So this is not anywhere near the smallest tube ever made. This one here is, but I think what I would like to do is, because I want to preserve these and keep them operational. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and rework this circuit board that's in here, and we'll remount the regulator and stuff, get the components that stick up out of the way. I would like to be able to put this tube inside the same package, and we'll glue it in with hot glue, wire it up to the same input jack so that when I turn it on and I give it a video signal, I will get an image on both the tubes. That's today's useless video. I say useless video because, of course, right now we're right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Nobody's going anywhere. I'm not picking up anything that may be contaminated. Anything that's been brought into my shop is going to sit here for a while before I touch it. And I still have to work, though. I do these videos on my day off, but because pretty much everything is shut down, I'm kind of stuck around the house. I can't go anywhere because nothing other than the local drive-through around here really is open, other than the grocery stores, right? But all the other stuff is pretty much closed, and everybody's staying home for obvious reasons, so that we can contain this virus that's giving the world some major hurdles right now. It's causing the economy to free fall, and there's a lot of people that are out of work, and we're just trying to find something to do with our time. So today, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take both of these little circuit boards, little circuits and tubes, and put them into this one cabinet and make it so that they both work. Should be an interesting little project when I'm done. And then I'll have two tiny little tubes in a plastic box where they'll be protected from damage, because sitting out in the open like this tube is pretty vulnerable to getting damaged. I'll use my new small screwdriver set here to open this up. I think this one will work. Yep. Open up the box. That way I can rework. I'm going to remove this one first of all. I've got it in place with some hot glue, so I'm just going to try and break this glue free a bit here. Maybe we'll heat it up, and we'll get the other one out of the way. That way I can work on it without worrying about damaging anything. So ultimately what I'd like to do, get that out of the way, and where's the board? Is it glued down to? It might be glued down to. I think I put some hot glue on the bottom of that. Yeah, it might be a little more difficult to get the board out. Nope, there it is. Okay, get the little circuit board out. And I'll just disconnect it from the front here. It is just connected to the power terminals at the front. Okay, I'm just going to disconnect the wires here for the video, just so that I can have the little tube completely out of the way. So that this little tiny tube and its circuitry can be stowed safely. What I'm planning on doing is I need some more space inside this cabinet. So what I'm going to do is I'll remove the regulator and its heatsink. I'm going to mount the regulator probably down to one of the tabs on the transformer and will use the actual body of the transformer as the heatsink. That way I can free up some space on this side of the cabinet. And even if I have to take these capacitors, and they might be okay where they are, I'd like to be able to jam both of the tubes in just side by side. And even if the circuit board for the other one has to sit up against the wall here, I'd like to be able to put them both in here just so that they both can be displayed out through the front. So I guess the next step is to loosen off the circuit board. Take the board out, or take out the side panel. Let me take out this side panel. For this process, I'll just take that nut off. Then I can remove the base, remove the side cover. And I need to remove this screw from the regulator transistor, or regulator IC. So now I got the regulator board out. I need to remove this regulator IC so that I can mount it over here. We'll just extend the wires to it, the 3 terminals. That should give me enough clearance. I won't need this big heatsink, but I will need to secure the regulator over here to the bracket on the transformer, just so that it does drain away any heat that's produced. Not that I imagine it's going to produce much in the way of heat, because these both these little monitors are going to be very low current, so it's not like they're going to be producing huge amounts of heat, and this thing's regulated to, I think the transformer's limited to 300 milliamps anyway, so it's not like we're going to produce a lot of heat. So, but we'll put the heatsink back on it just to keep the IC cool. But I probably could run this completely without a heatsink at all. I just made someone cringe, I'm sure. There, that's how that will go in. We'll put the spacers back in here and fasten the board back in place. Incidentally, this little resistor here is just to make the lights blink in it. It's not that it's really needed, it's just to make these lights blink. Okay, this should be ready to plug this thing in and test it out, make sure that it's working. Which, as you can see, it is. This way I've now created a lot more space on this side that I can mount that other monitor or whatever monitor goes over there. It's only go together one way, so you got to figure out which way it goes. And drop the screws in place and line the nuts up. These are not the easiest things to put together. These I hate these type of cabinets. They're a pain because you have to use a magnetic tool to hold the nut in place while you put the bolt through it. So I'm just going to hook up the two little tubes here. I'm just going to get power internally rather than having the power running out to these plugs. I'm just going to find an internal tap point, and I've got it here for power and ground. So here's power. Just adding the second monitor now. Whoops. We had them both come off there. We'll just tie them together and tie them both down to a common source in the middle of the board here. And of course tie them down to a common ground as well, which is this little ceramic capacitor over here is grounded. So now when I've got the video connection already made at the back, and I've got color bars going into it, so when I apply power to this, we should see color bars, well, black and white bars showing up on both tubes. That way I can check the orientation and get the tubes mounted in the correct orientation so that they will look proper. Let's turn on the power and we'll see that we have color bars on both tubes. Turn out some lights here so you guys can see it, but there are color bars showing on both of these tubes, as you can see. Now I can just adjust the voltage and adjust the picture controls, try and get them both looking about the same. So we'll increase the voltage to about 5 volts. Well, there's the camera picture off of both of these. There's got a camera on here, right? That's the picture that they both produce. Yes, it's hard to see in here because there's a lot of light in the studio here. here in the shop. But that's the picture that gets produced by these two tiny little CRTs. Now, the fun part. We're going to glue these in place in this plastic box, and hopefully they'll keep working, and then I can just have them as a little display piece. Not that I plan on running these things on a regular basis, just so that I can haul the box out with the two little tiny CRTs, kind of to show it off, because I don't run this thing, right? It's not like I'm watching any video content on it or playing games or anything on it. This is just something as kind of a conversation piece to show how small they actually made these little tiny CRTs when they made them. And I still think they're very cool, just in the fact that they're so small and that they work. Here I've actually got a video signal playing through it. Again, it's pretty washed out in here because there's a lot of light in here. But there's the picture for the two of them playing an actual video signal. So I'm going to shut them off now. We're going to put them into the box and see how it looks upon project completion. I was actually able to put this thing together without using any hot glue. Everything just kind of fits together. Hopefully it's going to work once I get all the screws back in. Okay, screws are back in. Let's plug in the video source again. Apply power and see if I get a picture on the two little tubes. And I do. And one of them's rolling a bit, but that might stop on its own. There we go. Just had to reseat the plug. Okay, I'm not quite perfect on this one. The tube moves slightly. Might be able to roll it over a bit. I don't want to damage it, but might be able to move it a bit here. Roll it a bit to the right. There we go. Okay. That's about as close, I think, as I'm going to get it. Let the next video start here, and then we'll turn out some light so you guys can see how this thing looks in the dark. Well, there it is. Now back together. Two of the smallest little black and white tubes ever commercially produced for camcorders. Actually, I think this displays it quite nicely, even though everything's all crammed in here with all the wires and everything. You can see the tubes. We get a shot from the top. You can see the physical size of the tubes and all the circuitry that's associated with them. Something like this needs to be appreciated for what it is. An engineering marvel that they were able to make a black and white CRT of that size. There's a color tube out that was a beam index tube, which was a 1 1/4 inch, which was still quite a bit longer. And of course, that all famous Panasonic CT101 1.5 inch full color tube with a shadow mask and 3 electron guns. That is also an engineering marvel. But anyway, that's this little unit here. As I say, with the light shining on it here, you don't see much, but if I turn out the light, you can actually see that there is an image on both of these tiny little tubes. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. Bye for now.